Hello and welcome to this video, which is all about how to stop sugar and carb cravings very quickly. My name is Christina Carlyle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist, sports nutrition specialist, personal trainer, health coach, and behavior modification specialist. Now, I know that's a lot, and think of me as your coach and biggest cheerleader. And as your coach, I want you to win, and I know how hard it is to feel like you're not winning when you're constantly craving food. So that's what this video is all about. Tips and tricks to help you cancel out cravings very quickly so you can regain control and confidence over food and start losing weight and feeling really great. So before I get into the tips on how to stop carb cravings, I really would quickly want to go over what carb and sugar cravings come from, why they happen, and why these tips are going to help you overcome these cravings and when you're actually going to want to use them. That makes sense. So sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And I know so many of my clients come to me and they're like, well, I don't have a problem with sugar. I have a problem with cheese or pretzels or chips or this or that or whatever. And here's the deal. All that stuff's sugar. And I know a lot of people also do healthy things like have fruit smoothies and fruit juices and other things that they think are healthy, but they don't realize that those things also have sugar in them too. Fruit has fructose. Fructose is fruit sugar, and dairy has lactose. Lactose is milk sugar. So just because something is not sweet does not mean that it's not sugar. So if you're in the habit of consuming something and it's not sweet, chances are it's sugar, okay? Now the food industry kind of processes things and adds sugars to things to make them, one, taste better, and also they process foods to make them taste better and have a better texture, because flavor matters, but so does texture. So when you have better flavor and texture, it makes something more easy to consume, and consumers vote with their dollars. So the food industry processes things to make it more appealing to consumers. A lot of these things are processed in the first place to make them shelf stable and also to make them a better texture and more appealing, but it just so happens that when you consume something that was once a whole grain or a complex carb and it's then processed, so it's a simple carb, they break apart these molecules of glucose, or long chains of glucose molecules. When they are simplified, they become shorter chains. They are simple, and simple sugars are easier to digest and break apart. A carb is complex when it's a whole grain or it has fiber. So what the food industry does is they break apart a whole grain and they make it a more simplified grain. They take a piece of it, or they take a complex carb, strip out all the fiber and other nutrients, and they make it more simple. And once a complex carb is broken apart and processed, it's more simple, it absorbs and digests and gets into your system really quickly. That's when you spike your blood sugar and your insulin levels, and what goes up must come down. So you have these normal kind of ranges, these narrow bands of what's considered a normal range of how much sugar should be in your bloodstream and how your insulin levels should be ranking if you were to do blood work, right? So when you're consuming a lot of processed carbs and sugar, things that aren't healthy, okay? So the rest of the tips from here on out, I'm assuming that you're consuming processed things or garbage, not fruit, okay? So it'd be better to have fruit because fruit has nutrients in it, also some fiber in it. The processed stuff is stripped of its fiber and it's stripped of nutrients. That's why I call it garbage. Makes sense? So when you're consuming garbage or processed sugars and you have it, you super spike out of these ranges, and your body will compensate by releasing hormones because it's like, whoa, we're too high. When you're too high, you want to get low. So it releases hormones in conjunction, in congruence with the super spike. So super spikes are typically followed by super crashes, and when you're down, you want to get back up. That's why you feel the craving. That's why sugar can become addictive and why carbs can become addictive. Physically, in addition to mentally and emotionally, because when you mentally and emotionally like something, it tastes good, or you're consuming things to feel better or to self-soothe, the easier it is for you to get in a habit of spiking. So between the taste, the texture, and the biological, physiological reaction to the sugars and carbohydrates that turn into sugar within your body and affect your body the same way, it's very easy to get in a habit of craving and crashing. And when you're crashed, you want to get something else and you crave something else to get back up. But you can be emotionally down. You can be too stressed, depressed, bored, and you can want to get up. And a lot of people eat when they're bored or emotional or consuming things that have hidden sugars in them and they don't realize it, and they get themselves locked in this pattern too. Just saying. Now, we can be doing this with healthy things, like I said, fruit, healthy things, but we can also be doing sugar-free, sort of calorie-free, low-carb things that we think are healthy, but we don't realize that those things have other chemicals or processed sugars in them that treat your hormones and react within you the same way that real sugar does. So just because something's sugar-free or looks healthy does not mean that it's going to have the same impact on your chemistry the same way like something healthy, genuinely healthy would. So just because something's sugar-free doesn't mean that it's not going to cause cravings too. Even healthy sweeteners like stevia, it's genuinely plant-based healthy, that can still cause cravings. It doesn't affect your blood sugar levels either, but too much stevia can cause cravings just because it's sweet. It's weird. So just keep that in mind. But from here on out, I'm assuming that you are reaching for garbage and something processed. Okay, so you're reaching for ice cream. You're not going for like carrots and apples. Okay, now when you feel the urge to reach for the garbage, you're feeling the urge to head to the pantry, head to the fridge, head to the freezer, that's when you would want to use the following tips, and they work if you work them. Tip number 1 is to pop the top of a can of green beans and eat green beans very quickly. Green beans have a phytochemical within them that help cancel out carb cravings. They also have a lot of fiber compared to garbage, and they're affordable. And if you get a can, it can last in a pantry as opposed to fresh green beans. Okay, so I don't know if you have cravings regularly, if you have strong cravings, if you have cravings every day, if you rarely experience cravings. Having cans of organic green beans would be convenient for when your cravings hit, whether they're hitting all the time or hitting randomly. Makes sense? And I recommend canned because of its convenience and because it's a pantry item. Fresh green beans would obviously be best, but you have to wash and prepare them and they can rot and spoil, and I don't know when your cravings are going to hit. Frozen would be helpful too, a step down from fresh, but you would have to thaw them, and freezing and thawing changes texture. Canned green beans, shelf stable, you can use them whenever you want, just have some on hand. That's what I use. Now, I'm aware that if you're in the habit of reaching for carbs, and you're not probably going to want to eat green beans either. So you have to kind of want to stop cravings. You have to want to give up sugar. If you don't want to, you're not going to want to work this. But if for some reason you don't want to eat green beans, or green beans just aren't your jam, or if you have a green bean allergy, the other tips are going to help you too. But I'm starting with green beans because above everything else I've tried, they are the most effective. They work fastest, and they legitimately stop sugar cravings in seconds. They stopped mine. And I know when I tried it the first time, I was like, you've got to be kidding me, because I used to be the type of person where I would eat something, like when I had a craving, if I popped the top of something, let's say I went for the chips or the pretzels or the cookies or the cake or the ice cream or whatever, once I started, I would not stop. Once I started, I was in my own personal man versus food contest. Okay, I used to be a food addict. I was a sugar addict. I was a full-blown emotional eater, food addict by the time I was 9 years old. And I share more about that in my story, but this was the one thing, green beans helped me regain control over food. And I remember eating them and I was like, I physically don't want more food. I wanted mentally and emotionally to keep eating, but I was like, physically I didn't need it. And this is about physically stopping the urge. And it works. So keep that in mind, because you can think yourself into and out of cravings as well, and thinking yourself into and out of wanting more food too. So just saying, we're going to get into that in a little bit. After green beans, or if green beans aren't your thing, the next thing I would recommend is swapping in something that is high in fiber and also high in protein, because these things help regulate your blood sugar levels. They don't super spike blood sugar. They don't cause crashes and cravings. And if you need help with that, I would recommend signing up as a VIP. I could go on and on and on about different options for you, but in my VIP section, which is a password protected part of my site, you will get 30 high fiber, high protein snack things that you can print out. And you're also going to see a dessert recipe book that is made with high fiber, plant-based things that actually taste really good. And my VIPs, I hooked them up. So if you sign up as a VIP, you'll also be the first one to be notified when I have new content that drops. It's going to be helpful to you. You're also just so happen the second you sign up, you're going to get access to tons of resources that make it easy for you to get happy, healthy, and fit. Just saying. Tip number 3 would be to use something sour. Sour tastes help cancel out cravings, because when you have something sour, it kind of tricks your brain into saying, like, we've been poisoned, don't eat. So when you have something sour, it can help cancel out cravings. And that's why I recommend lemon juice and adding it into water. I have my lemon water challenge. It's part of the reason why I created it. But my lemon water challenge really is just drinking lemon water. So anytime you're craving something, squeezing some wedges of fresh lemon juice, not the stuff that you find in like a fake plastic lemon, but fresh lemon juice, you squeeze it into water. That's helpful. And I also recommend this if you're dining out at restaurants, if you eat on your lunch break, you go to a restaurant with your coworkers or whatever, ask for extra lemon. You can always get extra lemon wedges. You can squeeze it all over your food and add it to your drinks. You can also get a to-go cup full of ice water with lemon in it. That will help you kind of cancel out cravings. It literally tricks your brain into saying, hey, that could be poison. Stop wanting to eat physically. Make sense? So tip number 4 would be a supplement. So if you're not able to get lemons, if you don't feel like carrying a can of green beans in your purse, I would recommend using a supplement. And the best supplement I found over the course of my career is called banaba leaf. Banaba, it's just like banana, but with a B. And this helps regulate blood sugar and insulin levels, which helps cancel out cravings, so you can stop the urges to eat because your hormones have been hijacked. It's going to give you a better chance to regulate and get back in narrow bands. These are great for traveling if you are on the road, if you're, on the road for the holidays, if you're out and about. Banaba leaf is convenient, and this is something that you would want to add in over and above everything else. Little carbs, little cravings for carbs, they would be cool with 1, 2, and 3. 4 is something that we would want to add in if you have more aggressive carb cravings like I used to have. So if you're always wanting to eat, that's helpful for you. And tip number 5 is to think you can. So you can think yourself into cravings. So if you've ever seen a commercial for something and you're like, ooh, I want it. Okay, you get what I'm saying. So if you think you can't do this, if you think these tips aren't going to work for you, if you're feeling resistance, if you're feeling any negativity, or if you automatically think yourself into reasons why these tips aren't going to work for you when they 100% will, we got a problem. That means that you're hijacked. Your hormones have been hijacked. You've been in the habit of consuming for so long that your thoughts have now been infiltrated and recalibrated to say, we want sugar, we want carbs. And that is a huge sign of physiological dependency. So if, for example, if you have a bowl of ice cream every night at 9 p.m., you're going to get into a habit of spiking every night at 9 p.m. and you decide to go off of ice cream, you better believe you're going to have a craving for carbs and sugar and ice cream at 9 p.m. Swapping in the other things are going to help. But if you've been having things that have hidden sugars in it and you didn't realize it, and you've been doing it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, more, that's when your thoughts start to become affected. So if you're already experiencing negativity or resistance to giving up sugar, a question that I would have for you is, are you ready? Because if you're not ready to give up sugar, that's fine too. You kind of have to be ready for it, but just keep in mind that the more you consume and the longer you're in the habit of consuming it, the harder it's going to be for you to break a habit, and a habit can turn into an addiction. It's kind of like going from picking up a hitchhiker to having a hijacker to being in a hostage situation. Makes sense? So keep that in mind. And if you want a program that will cancel out your cravings very quickly, as opposed to just piecing together tips and tricks, I would recommend my Reset Cleanse. It is something I designed about 10 years ago now to help my clients cancel out their cravings. It also helps reduce inflammation, stabilize other hormones, cleanse and detox cells and systems that work together to boost metabolism. So not only are you going to get rid of your cravings, but you can also feel really great and lose weight too. You may lose up to 10 pounds on my Reset Cleanse. It just depends on how much you're consuming, what your habits are, where you're at, and where you're trying to be, and what's going on with you internally, because everybody reacts to different things in different ways. But the top 5 tips I just shared with you work for everybody. And the more you put together, the easier it will be. My reset cleanse will wipe out everything physiologically that could cause cravings too. And it also addresses mental and emotional things as well. It's a complete program. It has coaching videos just like this, just saying. If you want more information, all that's linked below. I hope you like this video. If you think it could help somebody else, please share it. I'm curious which tip helped you the most, or which tip are you the most curious to try. I would love to hear from you, so please leave me a comment. I love hearing what you think. And if you don't want to miss next week's episode of CCTV, make sure you subscribe now. And if you're a VIP, I will give you all the resources that I already described, and you will be the first to know when my next video and post drop. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And before I say goodbye, I would like to remind you that yes, you can stop your cravings. Yes, you can. If I can do it, you can do it. This works if you work it. So work it, because you are so worth it. I'll see you next time. Bye.